Thank you for enjoying your sweetest moments, merging timelines. I'm your host, Melly Mells, an angelic melody Melanie, the airy fairy mystic. Today, my family, I actually have the notebook. I remember Blue's Clues. I have the notebook today. And so I'm going to go through this with you. And I was going to put it in order so that it seems a little bit more in flow, but then that would be in an unnatural state. So I was like, no. In flow would be its rhythm, its natural rhythm. And so the title of this reading is going to be the polarity of I am or am I. And you'll see that in the title, it's 444 was the number for this channeled message. I don't know where I want to start because I have 5 pages that I just kind of jotted down while I was at work. I get the best messages while I'm busy at work. I don't know if that's because I'm personally not I'm not invested in an environment that is very strenuous on the mind. My job is very, very easy. It's quite comfortable, right? I work, but it's not vigorous in my mind, okay? So let's say that I don't know why I'm having a hard time starting this off, but all the praise belongs to the Most High. So let's go ahead and get that out there, right? It's not me who gives you these messages. It is the Most High. And so I want you to know that I speak to you from the Most High. And that's why the messages will sit with you, even though you may be encouraged not to receive it through its tools, right? So I'm not using the cards as much today. I do know that they offend a lot of people, but I cannot step out of one experience and be something else. I have to merge its timeline, right? And a part of being in merging timelines is that I would not exist my prior experience. I would not deny my prior existences. I would then find some way of finding peace amongst its simultaneous, what do we say in spirituality, guys? It's simultaneous existence, right? You know how we say lifetimes, timelines, past life, future life, present tense. All of these are merging as one to become the new world. Okay? So I wanted to tell you about the reason I shifted the angle of my reading was to create more accountability amongst the people. I personally was finding that when I was holding the known and I was attracting the people who were coming to me for whether advice or insight and clarity of their situation, it was a dual world, because that in that sense, that person could choose to receive its message, or they could deny its insight, right? So then by shifting into the third perspective, the one above the two, I could then see how both of these people must be accountable, right? Not just the one that's reading and the one that's receiving, 3 angles here on merging timelines, but also the one that's observing, right? That would be the one from the Most High or the higher self that would say, I'm really accountable of not only just empowering my audience by giving its entirety the global view, I'm also empowering my audience and seeing how they can become better thinkers, better knowers for themselves. also people that can then be put in the same position to manage their own reality, their own home, and their own circumstance. I wanted to start off the message in that way, but then before we get into the deeper aspect, we are covering 3 angles in here. So that was 1, and then here's 2. I wanted to cover the children because, you know, you hear me say all the time that family, they're going to tell us for generations, save the children, save the children. And we talked about how the children need to be, they need to be saved through us saving ourselves. And people get triggered with that, you know, because it depends on what angle you are watching this video. If you're falling from false light, if you're following from the black sheep aspect, or if you're coming from the collective, the above, right? I'm here to bring all those angles. So it can tend to be a very complex reading, but you can play it back as many times as you want, you know. Just like that, if there's a moment that is unclear to you, feel free to put it on pause and put it away. It may not be the time and space that we share. If you are able to hear the message where it doesn't come as a fog, you know, and you're able to receive it, then feel through it. Now, if you're here to gain its insight as the collective from the observation, you're going to receive the entirety of the message, and you're going to see what I'm saying here when I say that we are here to put ourselves back together to be a better representation for the children, because our children will not resonate with the frequencies of the past tense, right? They came for the new world. They're designed for the new world. And an example of that is going to be how some of us will hold tight to our identity. And one of the most triggering identities is the one of race, because it is the one that has been undeniable by the physical eye, like the 2 eyes, right? Not the 1 eye, because if you haven't ascended into your God or goddess form, you're using your 2 eyes to visualize this video. But if you have ascended into your goddess form, then you know what I'm talking about when I say that there's a divide here amongst when it comes to our ascension. I see it kind of like a Rubik's Cube, you know, constant turning, because I don't believe that we sit in one of these angles too long. I believe it kind of shifts. And that's just to help us turn over the land, kind of like turn over the soil to create better soil, better foundation for growth. So our children will be the new wave, and that represents even us. Those who are the inner child has given birth to our inner child. Those who are actual children living today will resonate with this frequency. And then those who are coming in, right? Those who haven't even been manifested yet, or those who are in the stomach, rather, those are going to be that 3rd angle. So inner child, like you and I, the actual children that we see today, or those that are bringing in the children, they'll be able to sit in this higher frequency with comfortability. They won't be phased out. It's nothing to be offended by, family, because we all came for a purpose. So if you do not hear this message, if you're not drawn to this message, if you don't take well to me, that is okay too. I love you anyways. So they are in the vibration of the new world, and they don't hold the resistance of others. So we've been conditioned in our realities. I said that. We're off that topic now. We'll get to the depth of this communion. So I am, and in its polarity is am I. And just like I told you before, I will use myself so that this does not seem as judgment, right? But more so something that you can observe and apply through its consumption, right? I was experiencing some separation in my mind's world with my partner today. We've been going through a lot of things, and one of those things I told you has been the vehicle, right? And the vehicle is symbolic for a pause, disruption in our relationship, in the ascension process of our union. I'm very open in sharing this with you because I use myself as an example when I come to the collective. And the only way I can be a pure channel for your lead of the new world is if I'm constantly applying it to myself and going and working through this cycle, right? That means the places that are unknown to me, I'll share. And the places I feel that are known to me, I will also share. And I will apply the two together, meaning I'm experiencing it. And then through its process, I'll then empty it out and share. Right? So come along with me. I had to ask myself, am I attracting Mars from lack or the remembrance of? Aha. Here comes that word, remember. It's a big word, family. The word remember is big. There's another word that I was watching on Tiffany's Healing. Shout out to you, because I heard 2 words in there that you said that I was drawn to, because I've said them or heard them in the last few days. And that's kind of how we all become synced. In the collective, I believe, the ones that are doing and making the changes that we see today, the words that we use become very sync, you know? Am I blocking myself from the truth or the remembrance of being lied to? Am I in too deep or in to see the truth? Like, what I mean by that, forgive me because I think I sped through it, but I'll go back. But I feel like I'm asking myself, am I in too deep with this person to where I can't see the truth if it was presented to me? And the reason why I feel that is because in my past world, which was the last life that I shared with someone else in this actual reality, through my remembrance, I spent 11 years with that person, and a lot of those times when I knew to let go, I held tighter. Now, I feel like that comes from a place of lack through our conditioning of our society, but again, I'm still emptying out with you today through so that we can gain understanding. Not being able to let go of issues or the people who have betrayed them leaves the door open for the reoccurring behaviors. So like I said, I've pretty much disconnected from every friend that I had. You know, I do believe in terminology and that certain words with certain labels applied to certain experiences indicate its life in your timeline. So what I was seeing here is like the mirroring of something. And when I look in the mirror, and I told you I see myself and I see my shadow, that's through my accountability, right? We started at the beginning of the video with me, my light and my dark becoming one, and that's how I became the reader that I am today. Because I'll be honest, when I started reading, I have to tell you that story one time in story time, but just to graze through it, I was just the shadow priest. I was just the one that reflected what other people didn't see, and I left it at that. But what I found when I did that is that I created more of its fragmentation within terrorism. And that's why reading tarot is something that everyone can do. But it takes a special person, a chosen person, if I could say so. And you don't have to believe, in my opinion, but I believe it takes a chosen person to see the land of terrorism, but navigate above it, or at least influence the masses to not play a part of it, but to direct it into a higher ascension. It's not an easy thing to do, okay? The judgment comes, right? And the judgment from within, because we talked about it. What if I am the one denying what is happening? Have you asked yourself that? I've asked myself that today. Wholeness means you don't hold a space of a time when anything other than life exists. I bring this to the altar because I think, family, that in these newer days to come, we are required to ascend in knowing and holding this. That if we're connecting to experiences in our life that are connected to those friends, and that's not just a friend, right? I just use a friend as an example, but say that you and someone else have experienced some sense of darkness, some sense of lack mentality, some sense of betrayal. By keeping that person around, you may be leaving the window open for the reoccurrence. Some of us get this and some of us don't. So I'm trying to be mindful and be compassionate with its delivery within its pace. I feel like our masculine energy here is being triggered at this time. And when I say the masculine energy, please know that I also apply this to myself, and I want the women that observe this video to apply it to themselves before they externalize its focus. We're coming out of this timeline when we worked for survival, family, but it's only going to happen as we hold its frequency together. As you've seen today, we can say individually we're going to quit, but until a majority of the seas come into moving, and that's why I believe it's very important for the collective to connect, because at some point we have to choose to be healed enough to not take from one another's message, but allow it to multiply within agreeance. We're going to get to that. I truly believe we'll get to the highest message and we'll all sit down and share it. Only this time we're not going to be sitting down at church and sitting down for a place of employment or sitting down in our own individual homes. 3 angles. Same conduction. This time we'll do it on our individual home because our mind can hold its time and space. I hope that you know when I say time and space that time doesn't actually happen because we're ascending into an ageless society. I also hope that you know that when I say space, it is a new space, a free space that we're creating from. And so that's why I say thank you for sharing time and space with me. We're moving from this timeline when you and I worked as a man or a woman for our survival. So right now, it's easier for the woman to slide into this frequency because she's been conditioned to feel as though it's okay. She actually had to fight for her right to be the one to create survival. Now the wheels are turning, and this is what I mean by the women will be the one to initiate this safe home for the masculine to say, it's okay to relax. It's okay. You're safe here and you are protected. Are you seeing this timelines of your ancestors or elders, head leaders at this time? They're parallel to ours at this time. I don't know if you see it, but I do. I see it this way as I've now matched up to where I thought I could surpass. It's like we're in a race. But this is not a race, family. This is existing. And so what happens when your existence matches the existence of those that have given you its highest form? Asks you to delve a little deeper, does it not? This doesn't come from a known place, right? It comes from, again, another surrender of presenting a question. I've been taught not to ask, right? We have in our material world with the material God, don't ask questions. But I do. There'll be a part 2.